Why, good morning, everybody. I'm out here at a very, very empty parking lot for one of our local movie theaters because it is early and we're going to see Alien Romulus. Sorry about my voice. I was out at a System of a Down show last night, so my voice is kind of gone. It's still here, but not as good as it could be. But I've been super excited for this movie. And I've avoided everything possible, so I have no expectations other than I've been wanting a good alien movie in a long time now. I don't mind Prometheus. Its sequel is okay. Michael Fassbender is the best thing about both of those movies. And in fact, he makes the full Prometheus for me completely. It's just the second one really got convoluted in terms of what it was trying to tell. And from what this looks like this could be like Aliens, right? In terms of fast-paced action. I don't know. I feel like the horror in this is going to be ramped up more than some of the other movies that we've seen lately from this franchise. And I know from like stuff with the Red Band trailer, like I definitely think it's going to be a lot more violent than I've expected other Alien movies of late have been. So I just want a really solid, super solid Alien movie. That's what I'm hoping for to have with this thing. And I see that Mr. Solis has shown up and everything, and he's beeping his horn as we're going in there. And hey, I want to remind everybody, want to support the show, we got tumblers and other shit, because I had to have coffee this morning because, yeah, I'm tired. But, all right, we're going to head in and go see this movie, and I'll see you guys in a bit.
Hey, what's up, everybody? And we are back from the movie, and I got back maybe like 15 minutes ago. Dogs need to go outside when I come home. But I had a little bit of extra time to kind of sit around and just kind of think on things in the movie, and I'm going to be bold and just come out and say it right away. It's a really good movie. I don't know what else really to say, that's going to really get people to go see this. I mean, we went and saw a really early movie, and just around here, like, theaters can be really empty, even on, like, big times, big nights. But, it still always was just a little bit light, depending on what type of movie it was, especially like an R-rated movie like this. You're not going to get a huge freaking audience that are going to go out and see it right at that time. But I kind of expected more people in the seats, to be honest with you, when we went and saw it. It's I have to give all the props to Fede Alvarez, because he crafted something that is a lot of fun, and it's really well done. And, I've been saying it for years and years and years and years. I've said it all the time on the podcast. I've said it on little video reviews and everything like that. Practical effects are so much better. And there are so many things in this movie that are just practical effects, right? From the face huggers that you see, I have the fan blowing off and the hair is getting in my fucking face or in my mouth as I'm trying to talk. But like they use practical face huggers. There's even practical xenomorphs for a couple of scenes. Not to say all of them are practical, because a lot of it is CGI, but he uses enough practical stuff in this movie that makes it really cool and really like engaging. The sets are absolutely fucking beautiful. I am just amazed with the sets, and they look like they're all like, if it's CGI on the sets, I know that some parts are going to be, but in certain areas, if it is CGI, it's really well done, but it feels like old school models and old school sets. And it really harkens back to the original Alien, right? Even to the point, the monitors and everything that they use, it's all like fitting well within the structure and the world of Alien from that time. Even when we start out the movie, and we're starting out the movie on a mining colony, it feels like it's in the world of Alien. I'm so amazed at how, this is one of those times where I'm more amazed with the feel and the look of the movie more than the substance that the movie has. It's not to say that the movie has bad substance in it. Uh, I think that the ending's a little bit rushed in the way that it's working, but everything that leads up to the little bit of a rushed ending, I just absolutely just was in love and smiling and just trying to see everything that's there. And, as much as people are like, yeah, I got to go see Deadpool and Wolverine again, I want to see this again. I want to go to the theater and watch it and try to look at everything that's on the side and figure out what I might have missed in the movie, because there was definitely one surprising thing that happened, and I was just honestly kind of blown away when that surprise happened in the movie. And I just really, there's not like there's twists and turns and everything that's in it, and you have to figure out. No, it is more aliens than Alien, right? But the moments of tension and terror in this movie are done really well, and that's because of Fede Alvarez as a director, as a horror director, knowing how to bring it back into the roots of of horror, of where Alien started from. But he does a good job, I think, of mixing the James Cameron side of the Alien franchise with Aliens, and making some things action packed and feeling a little more like an action movie, and also with Ridley Scott with Alien in terms of bringing in kind of the horror and the terror and the viciousness of the alien back once again, right? Of the xenomorph that's there. Um, there are some things to nitpick that I'll talk about in the spoilers, but overall, I mean, it's extremely solid. If you really love this franchise, this is going to be the best Alien movie since Aliens, honestly. And I think it's kind of right in between the two. I still think that if you're going to go in, and really your hierarchy of these films is going to really determine what type of alien movie do you like better. Do you like action aliens, or do you like more of the brooding, dark, more horror aspect of Alien, right? And so I would definitely, my ranking, when it comes to the Alien movies, would put Aliens, and then Alien Romulus right at number 3. And then from there, it's just kind of a hodgepodge of the rest of the films that there. I would totally exclude the Alien versus Predator movies. And which is funny, because in the last couple of days, Fede Alvarez has talked about wanting to maybe do an Alien versus Predator movie that would be a co-direction effort between the director of Prey and him. And I think it'd be really good. And with what I can say about him as a director, and at least with this film, is that he knows the fucking source material. Okay? He wrote the film and he directed the film, and what he wrote was an Alien movie, right? It just fits the mold. It seamlessly goes in there. And I've heard multiple things, and one of the things that I hear is that this takes place between Alien and Aliens. And I was trying to remember at the end of it how much time passed between the end of Alien and the beginning of Aliens. Because this movie, and they even say it in the movie, it takes place 10 years after the Nostromo, right? So the initial thing that happened with Alien. So technically, even though it's not a direct one, it would technically, I guess, if it was before Aliens, technically it would be a sequel, right, to the original Alien movie. But it's not. I mean, it's more of a spin-off story than anything, because we're not following, Ripley or anything like that, or any of the original cast. But again, there are some cool Easter eggs in this movie. The sets are wonderful. The costumes are wonderful. It's not as gory as I thought it was going to be, but it definitely has some gorier scenes in it. And the funny thing is that my cousin really wanted to see this movie, and he's got 2 young girls. Well, he's technically got 3 young girls, but one of them, she's a teenager. She's, or she's going to be a teenager. I think she might actually be 12 right now. I think she's going to be 13 this year, which is just absolutely nuts for me to think about. Or she could possibly be 13 going on 14. I don't remember off the top of my head. I think she's 12 going into her teens. And then his second kid is, I think she's 8. So she's, she might even be a little bit older than that. I always forget what the age gap between them is. And then he's got a 1-year-old that will be one on August 31st. And I joked before it because he brought the kids with him, his 2 oldest with him. And I'm like, great, we're going to be a stereotypical Mexican family walking into this thing. We bring the kids to an R-rated movie. And they both were able to watch the movie. I'm telling this story because, like, they joked about something. Of course, they have watched horror movies. They've watched the original Alien, both of them. And, they're on the scale of I like horror to I don't like horror, I feel like they're right in the middle of it. There are some things they like and some things they don't. Like the middle child, she really loves like Five Nights at Freddy's and like the horror games and stuff like that. She likes to watch her dad play those. So it's I didn't think that it would be her that might be affected as much. I don't think that they are either were, and so with that, like it wasn't that bad to me then. Like that the gore, if it was really out, like really out there, I think either of them would have been really upset by it, but they weren't. And there are some good scares in this movie. There's one that got me that was towards the end. I just didn't think it was, and there was one scene where I was really like, oh my God, like something's gonna happen. I don't know what it is. I kept guessing what exactly was gonna be, which makes a very good tension filled scene and brings that like level up for the Alien franchise. So I can't believe that I'm saying we have a really good Alien movie. I thought it was going to be fun. I thought it was going to be entertaining. I was really hoping for it, and I got it. So this is a solid 4 out of 5 face huggers. I think that the effects were great. I think the story could have been a little bit better, but I think that the way that everything played out, it was really good. I mean, you kind of showcase more about the Wayland Yutani Corporation in the movie. You don't like learn anything new about them, but you see what their stretch is, and we'll talk about it more in the spoilers. So, I mean, if you guys seen the movie, let me know your thoughts below. There is one comment that I couldn't escape from, and I was thinking about it in my mind, and I'll talk about it in the spoilers when we go into that section. But it's unfortunate because, there's a group that I love to watch and they always do video reviews. And whenever it's a movie that I really want to see, I avoid them like the plague. But they see usually the movies on Thursdays so they can have the review up either Thursday night or Friday to, go along with algorithms and stuff. They're not like me, which just goes to the movie theater, sees a movie, and puts out a video. And so that I heard something when I was watching their live stream on Friday. And when they were doing that, there was like, because there's people that have commented on video, and one of them like, oh yeah, this one guy left this comment. And I was like, oh, son of a bitch, because I was really trying to avoid anything about this movie. And so I had it in the back of my mind, but I'll talk about it. And I would have probably put 2 and 2 together regardless of hearing that, but I think I was actively looking for it. And that was the one thing that I was kind of like, okay, I see where you're going with these things. So all right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If this is the end of you watching it here for my spoiler-free section, make sure that you follow the podcast. And once again, you can always pick up some merch. We've got mugs and shirts and all that fun stuff if you want to support the podcast. If not, you're watching these videos, checking out the podcast. I just put one of the newest podcast up on YouTube. That's there, and that's on Piranha, so you can check that one out and just let me know. And you can always suggest movies too if you want to hear something for the podcast. So with all that being said, I'll see you guys in the spoilers in just a moment. Okay, everybody, welcome to the spoilers. If you've not been to this channel before, you've not seen any of these reviews, this is all spoilers. I'm going to talk about the whole film, and we're going to go through it, and I'm going to do my nitpicking. I might not do it as much. Like, I always say that, oh, this is going to be shorter than normal, and it ends up still being a 45 to 50-minute video or whatever the fuck it's going to be. But, like, honestly, I think I'm going to try to pick and choose scenes or just talk about things maybe a little bit out of order just because there's not a whole lot to really explain in terms of the plot because it's pretty simple and pretty laid out, but there are things in it, and I do want to talk about my nitpicks with this movie, even though I'm rating it a 4 out of 5. There's a couple of things in this movie I just was like, okay, that's weird. First thing, I want to talk about the big surprise and the big twist. The fact that Ian Holm is in this movie. If you don't know who Ian Holm is, he's done a lot of things from playing, Bilbo in the Lord of the Rings movies. and to actually being in the original Alien as Ash. And so they use his voice and they use his face, right? But it's not actually him playing the android or the the metahuman or whatever you want to call it. Metahuman, what the fuck is this? DC. Uh, but he actually it was really fucking cool because when they get onto the ship and the whole idea, okay, let's before I keep going on this thing, on this like tangent, the whole idea of this movie, the main plot is that we have Rain and her android brother Andy, right? They're on a mining planet, and on that mining planet, she's worked enough hours with the Weyland Yutani Corporation. I know I'm gonna keep messing up that fucking name just because my tongue doesn't want to fucking work, and I'm still trying to get my voice back from the show last night. Uh, she basically has worked enough hours to get the fuck off the planet and go do something else. But the people, the corporation says, oh, well, we don't have enough people working the mines here, even though the planet's completely filled with people. And so we've increased the amount of hours you need to spend here, which is going to take another 5 to 6 years. I was like, holy fucking shit. And it's basically to show that the corporation is just a bunch of greedy bastards that's trying to, take over everything and wants to keep being the conglomerate and keeping people in like check, right? Because like I said, like the opening scene of this movie is actually them like getting the alien from Alien, right? Even though it got ejected into space, it's now was hibernating, I guess, inside of a rock. They even said space can't even kill the thing. And so they capture the rock and they bring it back onto the Romulus. And the Romulus is a space station. It's Romulus and Remus. And I kind of wish that maybe they had done a little more with Remus as well in the film, since I understand that it's all about being on the Romulus, not necessarily being on the Remus, but I wish we had gotten, and that's one of the nitpicks I have with it, is like I want a little bit more backstory on what these two places are and what the difference between the two was. Like the Romulus, and this may have been explained, and maybe just because I was so engrossed with other things that were going on that I completely missed it, but it could possibly be that the Remus was like the living area and the Romulus was the laboratory. And that might exactly be what it is. And like I said, I could have just scanned over it real quickly, but I just wanted like a little more. I also wanted, like, I understand what happened here and we explain it later on in the movie, but I kind of wanted to see somebody more than just the android, to like maybe there was a couple of scientists and cryo or something like that, just so that we had a little bit more. But I, at the same time, like I don't think that we necessarily needed it either, because I think the movie does a really good job of getting you into those places with everything. So it's like, it's a double-edged sword for me. I felt like maybe it would have cheapened it if they had done it, but at the same time, like I wanted a little extra. That's all I really wanted, because the movie itself has a really good runtime on it. I mean, it was basically, it's wow. Now that I think about it, it was about 2 hours, and it didn't feel like 2 hours at all. And I call it a good runtime, and what I'm wanting is going to add even more to the movie, so maybe it has an excellent runtime for what it's doing in there. Like I said, I think that the ending's a little bit tacked on with the whole thing, so it's... Yeah, I and this is just me thinking out loud, and this is what always happens in these things, that I flip-flop and I do a couple things, or I look up something at the same time while I'm trying to record a review, so that way I can get as accurate as I can with the thoughts that I have in my mind. But, so basically, she wants to get off the planet, and there's a bunch of, like, I'm assuming that this was like a past love interest of hers, right, that was there. And so Rain, our main character, she, I believe, was in a past relationship with Tyler and knows like the group of friends that are there, and they want to get the hell off the planet too. And they think the best way to do it is there's an abandoned, what they believe to be a ship, a Utah. God damn it, I'm gonna keep fucking it up. The Weyland Yutani, Utah. What is this, fucking Final Fantasy VII? But there's a Weyland Yutani ship, they believe, and they find out that that's actually the Romulus Remus station that's up there. And they believe that they have 36 hours before, basically, they're on a planet where there's a asteroid ring, and it's going to fall into the asteroid ring, and it's going to be destroyed. Now, the cool things that I really like about this movie, like, again, I think it's Fede Alvarez, like, really being smart with things in the movie, and the fact that, like, most of the space scenes are completely silent. Like, the first thing that we see is a ship going through through space, and it's what's going to pick up the alien carcass or the well, hidden carcass out there, but you hear nothing. And then a lot of the stuff that happens outside, it's a little more towards the end when like big explosions or anything, but they're muted. So he's trying to do the Hollywood thing with space, but still saying like, oh, there's still some things that you can hear that are out there, as it's, even though space is a complete vacuum, like he's still doing the Hollywood thing. But for majority of the times when they're out in space, you don't hear much, or you're just kind of hearing like you're inside the ship or you're inside the Romulus itself, as things are happening on the outside. So I still think that it's very well done in that aspect, and I really I would love to watch a making of on this to see exactly what was CGI and what wasn't, because there's even times where like you see the ships in the station and I feel like they're just models once again in the way that they're being done. Like there's representations of it where here it's a model and we're going to shoot it this way so it feels like a model, but it's not always that way when with the way they do it. There's also somebody else in this movie, and I don't know if that character, I maybe she's just because like she looks familiar and she's been in a bunch of stuff, but yeah, there isn't anything. I'm just looking it up right now. There's a person that plays the officer. Her name is god damn it, Rosie Ede or Eddie, and she hasn't been in a terrible amount of things, just a bunch of random stuff out there. She is in House of the Dragon for 2 episodes, and she was in The Flash, the movie. Maybe that's where I recognize her from. But she looks like somebody that might have been in an earlier Alien movie as well, but no, she wasn't. And again, there was an actor playing the alien in the suit, I believe as well. That's Trevor Newland, which is really cool that we actually get the alien actor. And again, that's one of the best scenes in the movie. So anyway, so they're gonna go to this space station, or the ship that they find out is a space station once they leave Earth. And there's a really cool scene too where they're taking off, and like the cousin of them, he's like, "Are you gonna do this?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm totally gonna do this." And he lights his lighter to light a cigarette, and because of the impact of them taking off, the flame like stretches like super high, and then he lights a cigarette, and then he smokes the whole thing just to like. It's such a subtle scene, but it's so cool, and like to see what the compression and everything breaking from the atmosphere, what it's doing to the ship, like that stuff. That's the stuff that I really fucking love when it comes to like this movie, right? So they end up on the ship. They're gonna go steal some cryo chambers that are there, as my neighbors make a lot of noise outside. They're gonna steal some cryo chambers, and that's what they're going to use to get to the system that they're trying to get to, because it's 9 years away, and they're not going to last to make it that long unless they go into cryo sleep, right? So they're going to steal these things, they're going to bring them back on the ship, and then they're just going to leave the planet. That's the idea. But of course, they go there, the cryo chambers, they don't have enough energy when they get on there, and they really want Rain to come because Andy was like programmed. His main order is to protect her, whatever's best for her to do, because her dad did it that way and her parents died in I guess in the mines, and so like they want to use Andy to get into the ship and then to get them what they need so they can get the hell out of there. And they were like, it's 36 hours before it's going to hit the asteroid field, and it should only take 30 minutes. Okay, it's only going to take 30 minutes to do it. I'm sure nothing bad's going to happen. And so you basically have them, they don't have enough fuel for the chambers that are there, so they need to go find cryo fuel. And that's when you get the first real cool set piece of this movie. And it's in the trailer. Unfortunately, it's in the trailer. It's in the beginning. But it's still fucking cool. Like, this is one of the few times where, even though I'm spoiled by things in the trailer, like to see it in its capacity is really well done. It is cut up quite a bit, and so you get a little bit extra, but this is where they go to where all the cryo fuel cells are, and they take one out, and unfortunately that spawns all the face huggers that are on the ship. And it's not just one, it's like I don't know, like at least 10 to 20 that are inside this chamber, and they wake him up, and the room's slowly getting hotter and hotter and hotter, so they're being woken up from their cryo sleep. And when they finally are, that's when they attack, and it's a really well done scene. And I thought that it was the brother that got attacked by the face hugger, but it turns out to be not the brother, but the cousin. And it turns out to be Tyler instead is the one that gets attacked by it in the scene that you see in the Red Band trailer, where it's like trying to stick his, the big long arm of the law of the face hugger down his throat. And like, it's it's such a cool scene because they can't get out. They need to have, you know, they need to have clearance to be able to. And Andy's, since he's a a Wayland Utani type of cyborg that they've got there, android. But he doesn't have the clearance. They can use him to get in, but they can't use him to get out of the room that they're stuck in. So they decide, because they found a dead android on the floor, well, at least a destroyed one, and they take the chip out of its neck, stick it in Andy, and Andy has to reboot. And so a lot of it is all of a sudden the face huggers are like slowly coming down. It's cool. I fucking love the way the scene works out. I love the colors. I love the way the set works with the ship. Again, like I said, is absolutely fucking beautiful in the whole thing. And just it's great slow tension, especially as they drop in the water and like they trip the cousin. And I just had to laugh. I'm like, I just, whenever I see an alien movie, ever since Alien Resurrection, like I feel like I have to name the aliens when you see them, or I have to give them personalities when they do that. So I had to give the face hugger a personality in the back of my head. It's like, especially since Andy is telling all these really bad dad jokes. I'm like, the face hugger's walking by. He's like, "Have a nice trip. See you next fall," and knocks his ass over. It's so stupid, but it works in the back of my mind for this. So anyway, so that you get that attacking scene that's really well done, and that's where we get Ian Holm revealed right after they do that, because they managed to open the door at the last possible minute by upgrading the chip that's inside Andy's neck. And in a really cool scene where so Tyler's on the ground because he survived having a face hugger face fuck him, and then one is about to come and grab him, and he's like barely waking up from like the shock of that happened the first time. And then all of a sudden, as the face hugger's like about to grab his face, it just stops, and then they raise up, and you see Andy, because Andy's been very he's kind of childish because he's very damaged, right? And he's not up to the current code of what it is, because I think what it feels like is like the father kind of hacked him in a way so that he wouldn't follow the directive of the company. He followed a directive that was given to him by the father to protect Rain or do what's best for Rain. And so he's like, and it's weird because he's always like shaking. His motor functions aren't quite there, and his speech pattern is broken up. I love David Johnson. He's so good in this role. And this is where in the beginning, I was a little like, I'm not quite sure about, Andy's character, and okay, I get why he's like that. And when you see it in the trailer, it makes you feel like maybe they're like a couple or something like that, like they're going together and they're going to survive together. And then when you start watching the movie, oh, that's just like her android brother. What are you doing, android? That type of thing. And so, but you see him take that change, and then his speech pattern's perfect, and he really acts kind of like Michael Fassbender does in Covenant and Prometheus in that way. And he's really good. I really like the turn. I really like the way that it was done. And then when they go, because when they get out of the room, a couple of the face huggers get out, and it attaches to Navarro, who I guess is in with the cousin. I couldn't quite tell, because you've got Kay, who is the sister of Tyler, right, who we find out is pregnant, and that's, of course, going to come back later in some way, shape, or form. You got Navarro, who's the pilot of the ship, and then you got Bjorn, who's the cousin of everybody. And I think Bjorn and Navarro possibly are together in the way that they act, but she's the one that gets face hugged, which you see, and that's when they figure out Andy, even though he's been upgraded and he knows more about the xenomorphs, he doesn't know how to help Navarro in this situation. So that's when they power up the android, and that's when it's revealed that it's Ian Holm, right? And the scene is really well done, and it's really like a it's such a straightforward because the directive that all of the androids have, and I know I'm saying androids and I should be saying what it is in the film, but synthetic humans or whatever you want to call it, synthetics. But I prefer android because it's basically, to me, it's the same fucking thing. But the directive for all of them is to make sure that the Weyland Yutani Corporation, you know, to protect the corporation is kind of what it is. There's a little bit more to it within the film, but for this case, we're just gonna say to protect the corporation's interests is kind of the overall theme of everything that's going on. And so, you know, she they think they get it off her by freezing the tail of the face hugger, which is pretty cool. And it's like it's one of those things where they're basically, you know, face huggers and the way that they work, you know, once they're done doing their deed, and I think it's once it's ensured that it's 100% that the person's been inseminated, because that's the best way that I can think about it. You know, I don't want to think about the face hugger jerking off in somebody's throat, but that's basically what they're doing. Um, Once they're done, then they die. Right, that's been the whole lore that we know, and it's kind of cool that, you know, it was still working and keeping her alive just like it was, and it was cool to see like the actual stuff, like, you know, the little bellows and stuff on the side of the face hugger's face, on her face, like moving in and out and actually helping her breathe. Like, again, really cool effects. I can't stress this enough that the effects in this movie are cool, but they do freeze it off, and then when they pull it out, like, it's seriously like this long of the freaking like injector that you've got there, or as my cousin would say, that's one big ass dick. And it's I was just impressed, like the way that they like it felt like you got more out of the xenomorphs, and honestly, I think you get more out of the face huggers in this than anything else. You know, of course, I want to see other types of xenomorphs that we've known about in this universe, but we don't really get that. We still get the tried and true for everything, but I think we get a lot more information on face huggers than I've seen in movies in a long time. It's not to say we haven't gotten more information about face huggers in other forms of media, but at least in the films, I don't feel like we do, and I feel like we got a lot more like brought into the world of Alien, or the Alien franchise, I should say. So she's like, they think she's saved, and she freaks the fuck out when she wakes up, and because Andy has been, you know, revitalized and upgraded, when she freaks out and starts to run away and get back to the ship because she wants to get the fuck out of there, which I don't blame her, but they give her, you know, the what I think they call him Rook is the name of the android that looks like Ian Holm in this one, and he basically says she has a 60-40 chance of being actually inseminated. And so, you know, Andy tries to stop her from getting back onto the ship because they, you know, there's got to be a way at least to contain the alien. And there is actually a twist to that as well, which is, I think, also a really good twist for this movie besides the Ian Holm reference that we have here. But she ends up freaking out, gets onto the ship, and then she just tries to take off without everybody, except for because they think that Andy's trying to kill her, but synthetics, androids, they can't kill humans. They can only make, like they even explain here, like, you know, Bjorn doesn't trust Andy because he doesn't trust synthetics because, you know, they killed his mom and dad because they locked them in the mine, but it wasn't that they killed him. They just made the judgment that having 3 people die and saving dozens more is the best way to do it, so we just shut off the mine. So it's not based on, oh, I hate you, I'm going to kill you. It was based off of, this is the best thing possible for the situation that we're in. Which he, you know, instead he takes it as, oh, well, the synthetic androids are just fucking murderers and hate humans and shit like that, and doesn't like them at all. They go, you know, she rushed back to the ship, and that's where you get the cool scene that's also in the trailer, unfortunately, but it still looks really fucking cool. And there's actually one before it where she actually picks it up and she uses the X-ray machine to see her arms, and you see the bones through the arms. It's fucking cool. Like, the idea of that's really fucking cool, and that sets you up for what happens to the ship, because she runs to the ship. She tries to run away with their little mining ship that they have, you know, and then all of a sudden she starts to feel the pains in her chest. She takes the thing, puts it on her back, and it shows like the face hugger trying to break out of her chest. And you actually do get to see that. And that's probably one of the gorier moments in this movie, where a chest burster actually does like open up part of her chest and slowly creeps out. And I love that. The best scene is coming up in this movie. It's my favorite part in this movie. Other than the other face hugger scene that we've got in this movie, I think that one works out really well too. And that is the actual reveal of the xenomorph. And it actually being birthed, like, because it forms like the pod on the wall, and it looks like you've got a xenomorph vagina that's out there as the pod fucking opens up, like it's actually giving birth. And then you got Bjorn, because Navarro's dead, and Kay, since we know she's pregnant, she's trying to get out of there, but here comes Navarro, or here comes Bjorn, and he's got this like shock stick thing that he hooks up to, like, I guess their battery to be more powerful, and he just like stabs the xenomorph vagina and tries to kill the alien. But of course, the blood, the acid blood of the alien ends up eating through his thing, and then the tail comes out and just stabs him right in the eye, which is, it's fucking cool in the way that it does it. And it's pretty fast, but then he falls over, and then all of a sudden the blood that's coming out of the alien vagina that's there, it just starts pouring on him and starts melting different pieces of him, and starts melting his hand, and you get a really cool effect of the flesh just going down to the bone on his fingers as he's looking at it. But then he's got, which he doesn't, I'm not saying that you can easily wipe it off, but he's got blood on his chest, where like about where his heart would be. If you think about it in terms of movies, they always put it like in the center, but it's more like it's over here. And so he's got it, and then it's been eating through his outer suit, and finally it eats through his suit, and then it just goes right into him, and he just dies. It's a cool fucking scene, but the whole sequence of the alien coming out of the vagina and the reveal of the alien for the first time in this movie is just badass. It's it's cool because she's trying to escape, and they set up earlier that he dropped the keys because he locked them out and he dropped them down, but he was so worried about going after Navarro, he didn't bother to pick up the keys. So there's this whole thing with Kay like fumbling to get the keys to open up the door, which is silly, but it's just constantly cutting back to the alien slowly coming out, and you see its like hand come out, and everything's kind of like, it's all bunched up, and you then slowly everything is like stretching out, and like it's fully forming. It's such a badass fucking scene, and such a great reveal for the alien as well. And for it to be the practical effect alien for this, I don't know what else to say other than it's just awesome. I just absolutely love the way this looks in this movie. So Kay does manage to get out of there at the last possible minute and falls down and basically injures herself, but she's in a hangar bay of the ship. And of course, we have both Tyler and Rain and Andy. They're all trying to get to her, but they have to go through, before this happens, they have to go through a hallway that's filled with face huggers. And this is where you get a lot of practical face huggers, as they're just kind of hanging out chilling, just waiting for something to happen. Hey, Bob, you gonna attack somebody's face today? Well, I don't know, Joe. I was thinking about it, but at the same time, don't we die when we do that? Yeah, but isn't that kind of our existence, Bob? I'm not sure. I mean, we could try something else every now and then. You can't be a face hugger forever. Maybe I want to be an opera singer. Maybe I could make a career doing that. Bob, we are a collective mind. The only thing that we know how to do as face huggers is jump on things that we think are faces and stick our very long phallic-looking things down their throat, so that way we can spread the seed and birth a much more stronger creature. I know you say it like that, but I would really, really like to sing. I have this great voice, and I could use it very easily. That's the type of shit that I go through when I see these movies. But you just have them, and this scene is also excellent. I love the way this, because they have to like raise the temperature so that way their bodies match the temperature, and then they have to be slow. And of course, as they're trying to go through it, that's when Kay like calls in frantically because she's trying to escape the ship. And then all of a sudden, all the face huggers are alerted. And just the way that they swarm down the hallways just looks so fucking cool. And I just love the way. And that's where we learn that, face huggers, they hunt based upon sound and heat. So they can sense your heat signature. So that's why they raise it up. But they have to be very quiet so they can't hear the sound and won't go after them. And then it's cool because he recognizes the heat thing. Even the Andy says that if you sweat or you're stressed out and your demeanor changes, they're going to notice and they're going to kill us. or inseminate us, I guess in this case. And so like Tyler takes out a flare and throws it into a corner, and you just see them all like and swarm over onto the flare. It's just it's fucking cool. I just really love the way this scene. It's hard for me to use like better adjectives right now that I'm thinking of, but it's just that I'm so giddy when I think of these scenes in this movie. So they end up actually getting to the ship or the hangar bay, and they can't open the door, and Andy won't open the door for them because he's like, well, it's right there. And then you see in the corner, like it's cool. A lot of movies, like I love it when Kay goes down there and like the alien, you don't really see the xenomorph, but it does drag two dead bodies out of there. And then you like when you have these scenes like that, and my voice is fucking cracking still, but you have these scenes where she's like it's doing these cool camera reaction shots back and forth, of them trying to be like, we're gonna save you, don't worry about it, no, no, help me out, no, no, we're gonna save you, just wait, Andy, why won't you open the door? I'm not gonna do that, that doesn't really work. What do you mean it's not going to work? Well, she's probably fucked as it is, you can see over there. And then when they do the reaction shot again, that's when they actually do the movement. There isn't movement of the xenomorph really before Andy kind of points it out. And I kind of like that but it's really been always sitting back there. So if you paid attention enough, you would see it. But because you're focused on Kay's face instead and her panic and everything that's going on between them, it's not until Andy mentions it that you actually see the thing move in the corner. It's again, Fede Alvarez, you have done something super amazing, which I think is get people interested back in aliens again, in the xenomorph and everything like that. And just, it's, again, such a well-shot and well-crafted movie, and it's unfortunate that the ending is the way that it is. Because you basically, Kay gets stabbed by the alien, taken away, Tyler and Rain then continue on with Andy, and they find out that, and this is where you're getting into a mixture of things, which I appreciate because it kind of ties everything back together. So there's a little bit of Covenant and Prometheus in this, and then there's a little bit of Alien Resurrection. And this was the thing that I was talking about, is that somebody was commenting on the video that they did of their review that I'm going to watch after we finish this, and commented that it's just the plot line for fucking Alien Resurrection, which I totally disagree with, but I see what the comparisons are, and it's pretty obvious that it's a lot of these things are callbacks in this movie, and I feel like that's a callback to that, even though that's not the best Alien movie in the world. In fact, I think that probably rated the lowest on my list. I think if I had to choose, it would be Prometheus, Alien 3, Covenant, then Alien Resurrection on the list, even though, there's actors I really like in it and there's scenes I like in it. It's just the weakest one for me. But it's Covenant and that are kind of tied. Covenant, I think, is just a little bit more interesting, and Michael Fassbender's so much better in that. And I think Alien 3 is really underrated. I think that maybe even that would be under this movie. I think a lot more people need to see Alien 3 now than when it was released, because I think Alien 3 got an unfortunate, like Halloween 3 Season the Witch type thing. And that's one of those movies that I would actually stand by and be like, yeah, it's actually a good movie. Like, you guys need to actually understand, whereas something like, I feel like there's cult stuff, and maybe that's the way people feel, like the way I feel about Halloween Season the Witch, right? Some people feel much differently than me and have always liked that movie. And then sometimes they think, oh, it's just a nostalgia thing and it's just a current day thing. So I hope they do that with Alien 3, because Alien 3 is a lot better than people give it credit for. But nonetheless, so when they're in the lab, right, that's when they discover that Rook has been working on creating a different type of biologically engineered alien, right? So it made the face huggers that are there. Those are actually created from the dead xenomorph's DNA, in which it really didn't die, but it's been working on doing that. So how long has he been working on it in this station? We don't really know. It could be months, it could be years, but I think the assumption is that we kind of learned that I think the xenomorph from the original Alien, I think this is what it's inferring to, actually killed everybody on this ship until, because there's a great scene when, like, they're showing the he's trying to explain everything, and you actually see the first xenomorph ever is in the ceiling, and he's just blown to bits. But he got killed, and they realize his acid blood, it's the last line of defense that it has, and it's like eaten through the floor and everything like that. And it's cool to see that, and I think that's who that is. And that basically it beat the crap out of everybody, and maybe only the Rook the synthetic survived. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's a cool theory if it is. And he just continued the work because he's been working to create the ultimate being, which leads me to Prometheus and Covenant type thing, and kind of what Michael Fassbender's character was doing in Covenant, right? And so when they get to the lab, that's where they find these jars that are the synthesized, like, I guess, virus, which makes me think of Dead Space too. But like the synthesized virus or whatever you want to call of the xenomorphs, and they show there's this video on the screen of a mouse getting crushed, and then them injecting it with this compound that was made, and then the mouse coming back to life and being regenerated because they're trying to create the superhumans or whatever they are. And what you don't see is once they leave the room and everything's done, they show the video further because they actually show a weird dead alien mouse hybrid, and you see that in the video after the mouse is brought back to life, all of a sudden it starts morphing into that. Right, so we know that stuff's bad. Basically, it still doesn't work, but it's creating the ultimate being, which means it's like a hybrid between whatever it's doing, right? And then it's cool because then we get the pulse rifles too, which are awesome, and they're like, oh well, these ones have an auto aim mode, and I'm like, what are they, Xbox 360 players? But that's an older reference than I need because I don't think most of the Xbox games have it, but I would say Xbox players or console players in general needing the aim assist. But the guns look fucking cool. They make a reference to the Colonial Marines, which is really fucking cool, and that these are the new ones to help them out. And that Tyler, he's like, how do you know about these guns? He's like, well, I watch a lot of things in video games. And I love, too, even when they're playing the video games, they're like, even though it's like a handheld, it's really like ancient. And again, it fits the time for what it is. So Andy gives them the guns not to shoot and kill because he's like, if you guys kill these things and kill them a lot, the acid's just going to eat through the ship and it's going to create a holes in the in this thing, and we're not going to be able to escape. So if you're going to do it, basically instead of shooting it, you're going to just stare it down with your guns and make it afraid that you're going to use that thing. Which in my mind, I'm kind of like, it doesn't make much sense to me that that's what it is, because if that alien's new, if that xenomorph is new, how would it have a long memory of knowing that its kind got shot up by that gun? I don't get it. The other thing that I've skipped over too, because I want to talk about this, I think it's a gaffe in what they did, and probably the way that it was edited, was that they said, so they knocked it off trajectory, right? Because when she got into the ship and she started freaking out, she hit the console board and the ship starts going wildly all over the place, and it crashes into parts of the station, of parts of the Romulus, and knocks it off its trajectory. So instead of 36 hours, they have 35 hours, or not 35 hours, 45 minutes to 35 minutes, because it jumps. But it's funny because they say you have 7 minutes, and then the next one you have 45 minutes, and it's like, wait a second, did we have 7 or do we have 45? I feel it's just a bad edit, or they decided to edit this piece in there and maybe they didn't catch it, or maybe it was like 47 but the 4 got cut off, and it was, so it's just weird. But this also movie kind of lives in the realm of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, as Patrick would say, in that 45 minutes lasts for 2 hours for when they go through the rest of the movie. So, they decide that they need to get out, but they can't go the way that they were going to go back because the xenomorph is hunting them down. So they decide to go to another way, and that's when they find a xenomorph nest. And it's cool to see like the starting stages of it and how it's all set out, and them walking down and seeing all the bodies, and then seeing the dead face huggers right next to them. But they, before they try to find a new way around this way, that's when Tyler hears Kay, and they go to rescue her, which ultimately leads to Tyler getting it from a xenomorph. And probably one of the cooler scenes, because, again, there's so many good scenes in this movie, but Rain is trying to help Kay because, hey, Kay, 1, she's pregnant, 2, she's in shock from coming out, and she's losing blood because she's got like a slash on her throat, I guess, where or maybe it's just blood. I thought there was like a slash in both throat that she was bleeding from, but I feel like, just from where she got stabbed with the tail when she was taken away, so that's where she's losing blood from. And then the alien's gonna go attack Rain to go capture her in the same way. But of course, Tyler gets in the way, which pisses off the alien, to which he uses his little mouth to take out the eyeball from Tyler. And it's a great scene, and that's where you find out there are way more xenomorphs in there. And we see at least 4 on camera at this point, but there's quite a bit more because it's a giant nest. So we never had to deal with just the singular alien the whole time. And I kind of like this reveal as well. And that's where it makes me believe that Rook has been there all by himself the entire time, like letting the aliens breed, letting the aliens, like, if his whole purpose was to make this serum, and that's what the Weyland Yutani Corporation wanted him to do, right? That he would have just let the humans die so that he could breed more and so that he could test his theory till ultimately he got the compound that he created after everybody else on the station died. So that's kind of what I think was going on with that. But again, I can't be 100% certain, but I really feel like it is. So they have to escape. And this is one of my little nitpicks that we've got here, where like they're using the elevator to go up, but the elevator has like a metal door that they pull down, but it's big enough for the face huggers to get through all the holes, and they don't. It's just weird. Like, they should have been fighting off face huggers inside of the elevator, right, as they were going up, as her and Kay were going up. Andy also got his ass kicked as well. New and improved Andy. And so Rain has a change of heart because even though they're going to this other system, if they were to go there because it's a free system, the, Weyland Yutani Corporation couldn't go there, and he couldn't go there as a synthetic because they wouldn't allow it. He would be illegal to be there. So they were going to have to like decommission him or whatever it is, even when they went there. But she has a change of heart. No, I don't want to do it to him. And so, and he's become, he has now, since he's been upgraded with the new chips, he has had his directive changed as well. And so now he's following the same directive as Rook to get his whole thing is to get the canisters and then leave on the ship and then deliver them to the corporation once they're able to come and get them, which might be some time, right? And so he gets knocked out by an alien, and so she goes back to go help him. Like, she just gets off and lets Kay go back up to the ship. And at one point, like, she's being damaged, and Andy hands over a syringe of that stuff and is like, here, use this on her. But Rain's like, no, we're not going to use it. And Tyler really wants to use it. And he's like, why wouldn't you use it? And she's like, no, I don't feel right about this. Which, yeah, because I bet you that's part of what they want to do, is they want to actually test this on a human. And why not better than freaking Kay that's there? She's hurt. We'll give her this. And that's what's best for the corporation, to make sure that his stuff actually works, creating the ultimate being, or whatever you want to call it. So she goes back down to help Andy. And when she goes to help Andy, she tells Andy, hey, I need to take that chip that I put in you, take it out, or else we're both going to die. I'm not going to do anything. And if you want to survive, you're going to let me do what you want, what I intend to do, so I can fix you. Right. And so reluctantly he does, lets her in there, and then he reverts back to himself. And they escape. There's a cool scene too. Like, it's a little cheesy, but I kind of like it, where they realize if they turn off the gravity in the place, that the acid blood from the alien will just stay in the air. And she tests the theory by shooting the first alien. And it's a cool scene with her with the rifle, the Colonial Marine rifle, and just wasting down the aliens there in the hallway. And then them having to do this like space dance through all the different things of acid. And while it's a cool idea for a scene, that's where a little bit of the CGI takes me out of it. And that's just a little nitpick. But I love the idea behind the scene of them going down there in the hallway of acid and trying to avoid, and her actually having to like shoot the pulse rifle at one point to change her trajectory from getting burned by the acid and everything like that. It's a well done scene. And so they end up escaping. They climb up the thing. They try to use the gravity free before the gravity comes back on to get up as high as they can. And it's hilarious because like Andy gets above her because she gets grabbed by an alien at the bottom and shoots off his hand, and then she almost gets to him, but then she starts following, and there's an alien, a random xenomorph that's there that saves her with the tail, but wraps the tail around her rather than just stabbing her directly to catch her. It would have been kind of cooler if she like got stabbed in the shoulder and was caught, but instead it like wraps around then brings her up so that she's able to grab the ladder. I'm like, okay, that's a little cheesy. But eventually you do get the cool scene of the elevator now falling because they even show like the cables got unraveled from the lack of gravity because it was too bunched together. And so when the gravity comes back, the elevator just falls and like it manages to miss Andy and miss her and then kills a bunch of the aliens, and like that's really cool. And the coolest thing is Andy comes and saves her, like because she loses her pulse rifle, but as Andy, as the alien actually survived being hit by one of them did being hit by the elevator. And so it's about to go get her, and here comes Andy, who's jumped down, has grabbed the rifle, and as he's falling, he's just like fucking shooting her, and it's like, you stay the hell away from her. And there's a big long pause because of it's now child Andy again, like it used to be, and he goes, "You bitch." I was like, oh, that's the greatest callback ever. I was really hoping that he was gonna do it, and he fucking did it. It was great. So they eventually get back to the ship, thinking that they've escaped. They've also got the vials there, and of course they realize that she stabbed herself. Kay's on the ship still. She made it back as well, but she stabbed herself with the little vials of things up there. So I guess she could survive. And then we have to watch a scene, and this is where I feel like everything's just a little bit rushed at the end. Whereas with Alien, this is where it's like Alien Resurrection, right? Whereas with Alien Resurrection, we had the Ripley hybrid, but it wasn't born of Ripley. It's that they took it out of her, and that's what the ultimate being became, was that human xenomorph hybrid, and it looked terrible, right? But it did kill the queen in a cool thing, and then it did love Mama. And there's a couple of things here that are, I believe, are just direct references to it, not trying to rip it off, right? So one, the fact that she gives birth to the alien is different. When she does give birth to alien, it spits out like a seed, and basically instead of it being like a chest burster, instead she births out one of those alien vaginas that when it opens up you see like a baby, but it's completely bathing in acid, which is kind of cool. And then it grows up as like, because the acid around it ends up eating through the whole of the ship, or at least where they're at, and goes to where like the mining section is, or wherever they collect whatever stuff that they mine that they're taking around. So it's in there, and Rain tries to go kill it with, instead of a flamethrower, they have this like cryo thrower, like ice thrower, ice flamethrower, I guess you could say, and goes down there to go stop him, but then she realizes it's gone, and you do get another one of those scenes where the thing's like crawling up the back, and that one's pretty effective. I like the way that one's done. I hate it when those things are used multiple times, but I think that he used them in decent ways, and this one was the one that would be the most like stereotypical version of it. But yeah, so you see that then you actually get to see the big thing for the very first time as it goes to suck off its mom. With it's got, instead of having, it has a little mouth too, but it's like a little sucker mouth, to where it attaches to her neck and like sucks the juices out of her, or what do you want to say, and ultimately kills Kay, so she gets killed by her own her own son. What are you doing, real son? Don't suck me off like that. Like, that's the type of thing that we get going with that. So ultimately there is a showdown. It also slashes Andy in the neck, who is bleeding his android juices out, the white blood that's there. And ultimately she does get she gets the cryo gun working, but then for some reason the ship like starts freezing. I don't know why. I just trying to figure it out. I'm like, well, when did we get to this state? I really don't know. she ends up having the idea that she's going to release the bottom part, like basically get this. And the human alien hybrid, when it like is bigger, actually looks a lot better. It looks like a pretty good mix of the two. It's got a human face, but it's got the alien tail, and you can still see that it's growing, which I really like, meaning that it's not full fledged yet until we get to the very end. And eventually, she does trick it to go down there, and she releases 3 of the 4 locks that need to release the thing. It looks like just like a giant container that they're in. And when, she gets caught, by it trying to do the 4th one, she realizes that, oh, I know how to get out of this situation. And this is where it's very Alien Resurrection, where, it gets sucked out through the hole in the side of the ship, right? It actually hits the thing, gets plugged, and then pieces of it get sucked through. Instead, like, Rain shoots it so that it spills some of its blood, and it spills its blood on the ground, which causes, the holes to open and everything to get sucked out of there. And that's where I got the jump scare that got me, because as she's trying to pull herself up to get out of there to that last piece, like the human alien hybrid, like, pops up in front of her and does a jump scare, and I was like, holy shit. Like, and that was really effective. But also the cable that she attached herself to, it's wrapped around the 4th one. So she just kind of moves the cable a little bit, which causes everything to fall down. He gets sucked out because she's connected to the ship. Then the ship was like in manual free fall mode, and it was about to hit the asteroids. But when she did that, all of a sudden it turns into automatic. I feel that what we don't see is that she makes it back to the ship and then she goes and she changes it, but they make it like it just kind of did it. So I don't know. But she also has betrayed, because Rook was basically like, oh, you're going to get there, we go back, everything's going to be good before it's destroyed. But she changes it from his, like, the automatic steering, which Rook is setting the coordinates for, to making manual so her and Andy can fly off together. So she puts Andy into cryo sleep, she puts herself into cryo sleep, and then she leaves a message, saying, I don't know if this is going to last me the full time, but hey, I hope to make it as far away from here as possible. And that's like the ending. So I feel like I said, the last part's a bit rushed. It is very Alien Resurrection-y, but overall, the movie's really good. And, looking at the time I've done to record this one, again, I thought, oh, this can be relatively quick. And it turns out to be 40 minutes of me rambling during spoilers. So, like I said, really good sets, really good effects. The acting is pretty well done in this movie. I do like Kaylee Spiney. And I hope I'm saying the last name right. As Rain, I really love David Johnson as Andy, and I think it's the middle turnaround, even at the beginning. The Ian Holm reference and surprise was really good. The rest of the cast is okay for what they are. I think Tyler and Bjorn get more of the screen time than Kay and Navarro do, but everybody's perfectly fine, and they're just mostly there to be fodder for everybody, and to have Rain be the final girl of the movie is kind of what we're doing. But, unlike a lot of these types of characters, like, she's not a Ripley, right? And honestly, the best way that I can, like, the reference I can make is she's Alien Isolation. Like, she's Ripley's daughter, if you've ever played that game before. That's what this movie kind of feels like. Like, he took the best parts of Prometheus and Covenant, right? At least the story of it. He took the action sections from Aliens. He took the horror stuff from Alien. And then he took some of the storyline pieces from Resurrection and Alien Isolation in the way that the world is being set, right? And I think it's good. It's a definite love letter to the franchise. He understands the Alien franchise, and it works out so well. So I would say that you have to see this movie. If you love Alien and Aliens, this is a movie that you need to see. You will absolutely love it. With all that being said, that's it. I'll see you guys later. Make sure that you follow me. All the socials are down below. Check out the latest episode, Terrible Terror Podcast, that was recorded. It is on Piranha. It is also up on YouTube too. Yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Make sure that you take care of yourselves and each other. And I'm going to go get some honey and some tea for my throat. Bye, guys.